I'm Del Walters in Washington, D.C. This is happening now in America. An ICE officer shot and killed a suspect in a Chicago suburb on Friday. Homeland Security says the suspect tried to evade arrest by driving his car at the officers and dragging one of them. The officer who was dragged then opened fire. The shooting happening in Franklin Park during ICE's ongoing enforcement operation in Chicago, which is being called Midway Blitz. President Trump says he will send in the National Guard to Memphis, Tennessee to address that city's crime concerns. The president claims the city's Democratic mayor and Tennessee's Republican governor both support the move, but the Shelby County mayor criticized the plan, says no one is happy with what he calls an occupation. White House has yet to confirm whether local officials actually requested the deployment. Memphis police report crime is at a 25-year low. New numbers out on Thursday are being called a double whammy of troubling economic indicators. Inflation is up. Finding a job is getting harder. Scripps News Global Affairs correspondent Maya Rodriguez joins us now. And Maya, that combination can spell trouble for any economy.
Yeah, Del, it can, and it can spell trouble for consumers. Economists are concerned about two separate pieces of federal data released on Thursday. They showed rising prices and an increase in unemployment claims. That is a troubling combination that presents a challenge for both consumers and the Federal Reserve. Inflation continues to tick up, and new federal data shows a growing number of people are out of work. That combination is causing concern about the potential for stagflation.
Stagflation is when the economy is weakening, weakening labor market, weakening GDP, but also we're seeing rising prices.
Consumer prices were up 2.9% in August compared to a year ago, rising at their fastest pace since January. Meanwhile, separate federal data showed 263,000 people submitted jobless claims last week, the most since October of 2021. Those conditions point to stagflation, but a milder version than what Americans saw a half-century ago, says financial analyst Stephen Cates.
You could call that stagflation, but it is a far cry from the stagflation that is sort of built into the history books from the 70s and 80s.
The dual data indicates a challenging environment for consumers.
Stagflation is really a 1-2 punch for consumers. And we can think about this as like a gut punch and then taking one right to the chin.
Economic professor Abby Hall says the data is also a potential headache for the Federal Reserve, which would typically raise interest rates to curb inflation, but lower interest rates to help support a weakening jobs market.
The Fed has a really difficult task of trying to balance these two. And when you have an occasion where both are rising, the policy prescription is really unclear.
The Federal Reserve will meet next week and announce its interest rate decision on Wednesday. That Fed announcement will be watched closely. A number of analysts expect the central bank to announce a 0.25 percentage point rate cut next week. Del?
Maya, given all of this, how are Americans feeling about the economy?
Well, you know, actually, they're feeling a bit worse. So according to a preliminary survey from the University of Michigan that came out just this morning, consumer sentiment dropped nearly 3 points. And more than half of consumers mentioned tariffs as something that is impacting their finances. Del?
FX us all. Our global affairs correspondent Maya Rodriguez. Maya, thank you very much. We are learning details now about the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Authorities believe that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is the shooter. Utah's governor saying investigators believe that Robinson acted alone and had an extensive plan of what he wanted to do. Robinson reportedly expressed opposition to Charlie Kirk's conservative viewpoints in the past, both in person and on social media. Our national correspondent Mara Barrett has our details.
A whirlwind 33 hours for investigators here from that initial single shot fired on campus here at Utah Valley University on Wednesday to the overnight arrest of the suspected shooter on Thursday. The details of the arrest shared first not by law enforcement, but by President Donald Trump. President Trump broke the news personally Friday morning on Fox and Friends.
We have him in custody. Essentially, somebody that was very close to him turned him in.
Just a few hours later in Orem, Utah, on the same campus where conservative activist Charlie Kirk was murdered, FBI Director Kash Patel described the arrest in more detail.
The suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. in less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise.
Authorities say the suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, went back home to Washington County, Utah, more than 250 miles from the crime scene, and confessed to his family, who contacted police. Officials believe Robinson acted alone.
Yeah.
Governor, do you have any details on how he got back to Washington County and how the gun was obtained?
How we obtained the gun was found.
No, how the shooter obtained the gun and how the shooter then was able to get back to Washington County.
So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
While it's unclear if Robinson obtained the weapon legally, Governor Spencer Cox described inscriptions allegedly written on ammunition casings, including the words, "Hey fascist, catch," along with apparent references to online memes. The meaning and origin of what he allegedly wrote is unclear. Cox said family members described Robinson as having become increasingly political and focused on Kirk, who he believed was spreading hate.
The very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas.
FBI Director Patel, who flew to Utah on Thursday to personally supervise the investigation, praised law enforcement and closed with a message for Charlie Kirk.
Rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Cox, who has consistently called for unity amid the partisan furor around the murder, spoke directly to young people.
You are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now.
We have not received any official information in terms of a motive, but we know that Robinson was booked without bail on initial charges of aggravated murder and felony discharge of a weapon. We expect to see official charges from the FBI filed early next week. Maura Barrett, Scripps News Group, Orem, Utah.
Where we are now is actually a little outside of St. George in Washington, Utah, because this is the home of where that suspect, Tyler Robinson, lives. It's about 2 hours away from Las Vegas, and we've been here all morning and have seen law enforcement posted here throughout the day. You still see some officers here and some trucks. Now, it's fairly quiet with neighbors coming by to take a look, and it appears to be pretty close-knit with several who are part of the LDS Church, now surprised by what police say happened. Now, the governor held a news conference earlier, and we learned a lot of new information about the case, starting with how quickly an arrest came, just 33 hours from the time Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. In interviews with family, they found out Robinson had recently become more political. Investigators say he told family why he didn't like Charlie Kirk and that he was coming to Utah Valley University as part of a tour across college campuses. Now, according to a statement from Utah State University, Tyler James Robinson attended the school for 1 semester in 2021, and the governor said he is not a current student. Now, I spoke with one of his neighbors who was surprised at his arrest.
Why? Why would he do that? Why? What was he thinking? Because he's smart and he's cute and he's part of our neighborhood, I saw him grow up, yet I would have never thought that.
Now, investigators have charged him with aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstruction of justice. For the Scripps News Group, I'm Justin Hinton.
We all idolized him. He was a great inspiration to all of us.
When she was 17, Aubrey Moore was inspired to become a political activist, and Charlie Kirk provided the spark.
He got on stage and just, the electricity sent through the building.
Aubrey got to meet Kirk twice during her time as an ambassador with Turning Point USA, the conservative organization that brought together young people from across the country.
You sit and you talk to him, and he's just so excited to talk to you and anything related to the movement and Gen Z.
Through Turning Point USA, she traveled to political events and was part of an outreach trip to Israel. Since then, Kirk's influence only grew, and he was credited with helping President Trump win the 2024 election. Outspoken Florida Congresswoman Ana Paulina Luna was also a former Turning Point USA member. She says she blames Kirk's killing on hateful rhetoric from the left.
He's my friend. He's part of the reason why I'm in office right now, and it's awful that it's taking this type of stuff to happen very publicly for people to realize what they're doing is wrong.
Aubrey, like so many others, are still shocked by Kirk's death. She had hoped what she was seeing online was some sort of AI creation.
We're still kind of getting over the shock, and the real sadness is really starting to hit.
Back in 2020, I talked with Aubrey about the TikTok page she started called the Republican Hype House. Her page eventually got to 1.2 million followers, using the platform to appeal to young people. At the time, she told me how her page would team up with the liberal Hype House, producing video duets and a live stream to raise money for coronavirus relief.
There's such a stereotype of the right hates the left and the left hates the right. And I think if we break that, especially with these upcoming generations, we may have some more peaceful elections.
TikTok eventually banned both pages. Now, 5 years later, the divide between political parties seems greater than ever, but Moore says Kirk's influence will live on.
There's such a fire in the community right now, and you take someone that speaks truth away and you create millions more.
In Wesley Chapel, Eric Waxler, Scripps News Group.
Scripps News, part of the Scripps News Group.
Heads up, EV owners or anyone who is looking to make the switch. Big changes are coming to those incentives that may power your purchase. I'm ABC 15 meteorologist Justin Hobbs. I'm digging into which of those perks is heading for the off-ramp and which are still in the middle lane.
It's incredibly fast. It's awesome tech. I love driving it.
For Scottsdale resident Matt Isaacson, switching to an EV was about more than just saving on gas. It also came with perks like riding solo in the HOV lane.
It helps a lot, actually, like picking up my son anytime I'm kind of driving at rush hour.
But come September 30th, many of those perks could be pulling into the off-ramp. After the Trump administration passed what is called the Big Beautiful Bill in July, tax credits on new and used EVs will come to an end. But not all incentives are headed for the exit.
Every 5 years, Congress has to reauthorize the ability of states to allow electric vehicle drivers to utilize the HOV lane.
If you own an EV, you may have already received a letter from ADOT reminding drivers that HOV access is set to expire September 30th. But a new bill introduced by California Congressman Mark DeSagne at the end of August would extend that perk through 2031. It's now before the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and would still need full congressional approval before reaching the president's desk.
I sit here right now, I think there's a pretty high level of confidence that this will get done.
If the bill isn't approved by the 30th, the HOV perk could expire. But Stanton says it could be still signed late, creating a brief lapse. And states also need to give approval.
Yeah, and speaking of the states' rights, I mean, Arizona obviously has agreed to it in recent years. Do you see that if it does get passed within Congress, that Arizona would continue on?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it.
I think it's hard when you have the ability to use something and then to have that taken away. So hopefully that provision will get extended.
Justin Hobbs, Scripps News Group.
If you're not a fan of spending money, I want to tackle what you could be doing wrong right now. The energy experts at FPL shared this sage advice. You want to set your ceiling fan to spin counterclockwise. That way it pushes that cooler air down. Also, experts say fans cool the person, not the room. So turn them off when you leave the room. Researchers say just by doing that, you could save anywhere from $3 to $7 a month, depending on the speed of the fan. Now, with our team of meteorologists, also the Farmer's Almanac predicting a warmer than average fall. This might be something to tap into.
The Kentucky Supreme Court came to Danville today to hear arguments over a contentious issue that has been brewing in Kentucky for years now. Charter schools. This time, this is the law that's in question. What it would do is send taxpayer dollars to charter schools. And the issue here is this legally allowed?
This court is now in session.
That's now up to the state's highest court to decide. Now, some people may be thinking, didn't voters recently say no to sending public money to non-public schools? And the answer is yes. Voters rejected Amendment 2 in 2024, and that rejection means that public money is only for public schools in Kentucky. But the Attorney General's office argues that charter schools should get that money because they are public schools as well.
Charter schools are public schools in the same way every other public school is a public school. It's open, it's free to all.
The Attorney General's lawyers argue that charter schools are similar to specialized magnet schools like SCAPA in Lexington. But the Department of Education says that's not true. The department's lawyers argued that charter schools are not public schools because they're not accountable to the public. He said that charter schools are governed by an independent board of directors who are not elected. Meanwhile, public schools, including magnet schools, ultimately report to the taxpayers.
A magnet school operates under the supervision of its local district and is accountable to the district and the local school board, which is comprised of elected officials who are therefore accountable to the local taxpayers within the community.
The Attorney General's office told the court that parents will hold charter schools accountable by ultimately choosing whether or not to send their child there.
It gives parents a greater role in the education of their kids.
Carolina Buchek, Scripps News Group.
More than 2,500 people reserved seats to see Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh speak during the Ken Starr lecture at McLennan Community College on Thursday night.
I'm in law class, and I really wanted to see a Supreme Court justice, and I think that'd be cool.
I would just like to hear what he has to say.
Well, I came out because I've been supporting Judge Kavanaugh from the beginning.
Hundreds of questions were submitted by the public for Kavanaugh to answer during the event. He reflected on 9/11 along with judging the Constitution and his role as Supreme Court Justice. With the shooting death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk still fresh on our minds, We checked in with some attendees on how they feel about safety at the event.
Do you feel pretty comfortable coming out?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, I feel pretty safe.
We still have to get out. We still have work to do, and for sure Charlie would have wanted that.
I feel weary, but it's not the same thing as what happened yesterday.
Do you feel comfortable that the school has done everything they can?
Yeah.
Bobby Portavant, Scripps News Group.
On 9/11, on this day of remembrance, an ailing local man's mission to keep his daughter's memory alive would take him to the Mission San Diego de Alcala.
Inside the church Diora Bodley once attended.
And the grief does not ever go away, ever.
Her father, Mark Borza, lights candles in her memory.
You eventually come to terms with being able to live with it.
ABC 10 News first spoke with loved ones of Bodley back in 2003, 2 years after the 20-year-old college student was killed when United Flight 93 was hijacked, crashing into a Pennsylvania field, killing all on board, leaving Bodley's family.
It's the first time in my life that I actually felt air escape from me.
Mired in shock and grief. Over the years, her friends and family have honored her memory with benefit concerts and other fundraisers. And for more than a decade, Borza and a group of family and friends have also been lighting candles on the anniversary. 40 candles, one for each victim aboard Flight 93.
The top of my list is making sure Diora is not forgotten. Nobody that day is ever forgotten.
For Borza, doing his annual tribute is getting harder. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2016. He says in the past year, his voice has weakened.
The mobility has definitely gone downhill.
Along with his balance.
I've taken a few falls and hurt myself.
Despite those challenges, Borza made his way to the church this day as he and his group carried on with their solemn tradition.
I know the saying, never forget. We're trying to make sure that it's not just a slogan.
How long will you keep doing this?
Forever. I may have to be carried here, but I will be coming here as long as I possibly can.
Michael Chen, Scripps News Group.
A huge change in precedent on Capitol Hill as Senate Republicans took a big step this week to make it easier to confirm President Trump's nominees. On Thursday evening, Senate Republicans invoking the so-called nuclear option, changing the Senate's rules to allow multiple Trump administration nominees, from ambassadors to U.S. attorneys and virtually all appointments below the cabinet level, to be confirmed in bulk. All at the same time. The rules change, however, not affecting lifetime federal judge nominations. Senate Majority Leader John Thune defending the move Thursday, blasting Democrats for stalling on confirming President Trump's nominees.
Do you guys like the fact that we're a personnel department? That the Senate spends 2/3 of its time on nominees? To finish just the nominees in the pipeline today, between now and the end of the year, we would have to cast another 600 votes.
Despite claims from Senate Republicans, Democrats have insisted they are not stalling, instead performing necessary due diligence and close examination of all of Trump's nominees. Now that the rules have been changed, senators say the role of the Senate's constitutional duty to confirm the president's nominees could change dramatically.
On the flip side of this, I mean, do you think a future Democratic administration could now have an easier time getting their nominees confirmed?
Yes. What is both good and bad about this is it means we will spend a lot less time on nominations. It will clear up the floor, and it would mean that a future Democratic administration, should there be one, will not have the frustrating experience of the Biden administration, where many of their nominees were never confirmed.
Though Senate Republicans say under the new rules they plan to confirm a maximum of 15 nominees at the same time, Democrats warn that Republicans could change their tune and decide to confirm hundreds of Trump's nominees all at the same time, leading to less scrutiny of Trump administration officials. Nathaniel Reed, Scripps News Group, Washington.
After the break, a live look at today's top stories.
I'm Del Walters in Washington. Here are some of the stories making headlines at this hour. Black lawmakers are calling for a federal investigation into threats made to historically black colleges and universities. At least 6 of the HBCUs canceling classes on Thursday after receiving the threats. Their campuses locked down. The Congressional Black Caucus says they want the Justice Department and the FBI to investigate. The FBI calling the threats hoaxes, but says it takes them seriously. There are reports the makers of Tylenol met with Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. earlier this week. Wall Street Journal saying their goal was to convince him to stop linking the painkiller to a possible cause of autism. Recent reports suggest the HHS will issue an analysis linking the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy to the development of autism. Talk of a government shutdown in Washington, this time from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Schumer says he's willing to risk a shutdown at the end of the month if Republicans don't meet Democratic demands. Last March, he voted with Republicans to keep the government open, angering House Democrats. Now he's in lockstep with House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, opposing any legislation that doesn't include key health care provisions. Democrats want to extend Affordable Care tax credits and roll back Medicaid cuts from Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Republicans say Democrats will be blamed if the government shuts down. On Capitol Hill on Tuesday, a bipartisan group of senators unveiling legislation aimed at branding Russia and Belarus as state sponsors of terrorism. That move is in response to allegations that Moscow has now kidnapped close to 20,000 Ukrainian children during the war. Scripps News international correspondent Jason Bellini has followed this story since day one and has our report.
Could Russia land on America's terror list? A bipartisan group of U.S. senators is trying to make that happen. In the war between Russia and Ukraine, one of the darkest chapters has been the mass kidnapping of Ukrainian children. Scripps News was the first to report on the stolen babies of Kherson, and we've been tracking this story ever since. Now on Capitol Hill, a new push to put Moscow on America's official list of state sponsors of terrorism. It would stamp Russia with the same category as Iran, Syria, North Korea, and Cuba, the worst of the worst list.
It's hard to get on that list. Well, let me tell you, Russia's earned the right to be on this list.
More than symbolic, it locks new bans into law and even opens the door for lawsuits against Russia in U.S. courts.
What does it matter to be state sponsor of terrorism under U.S. law? Your economy is radioactive. You do business with Russia at your own peril.
Had this bill been in force a month ago, would President Putin have been allowed to set foot on American soil in Alaska?
That's a good question. Probably not. And let me just say this, I don't care how we end the war as long as we end it justly. The children come home. We've tried the red carpet approach. It ain't working. There's more attacks today than there were before. If you want to vote no, we will make you famous.
With nearly 20,000 Ukrainian children still missing, senators say this legislation is about maximizing pressure and hastening a just end to the war. Jason Bellini, Scripps News Group, Washington.
Prince Harry making a surprise visit to Ukraine on Friday to support wounded service members. This is the second time the prince has visited the country. Ukraine is among the nations bidding to host the Invictive Games in 4 years. The Invictive Games is a Paralympic-like competition for military veterans. The Invictus Games competition was founded by Harry for wounded, injured, and sick service personnel and veterans.
Investigators are revealing how a tip from the suspect's own father helped end this manhunt, and the details show this was a carefully planned attack. Authorities identified the suspect as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. He was taken into custody here in St. George on Friday morning after his father recognized him in police photos distributed nationwide. Officials say Robinson at first refused to surrender until his father contacted a youth pastor who also serves as a U.S. Marshals Task Force officer. That call ultimately led the FBI straight to Robinson.
We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
Investigators say Robinson arrived at the Utah Valley University on the morning of the shooting in a gray Dodge Challenger before carrying out the attack. Surveillance shows him moving across rooftops, then fleeing after that fatal shot. Authorities recovered his rifle wrapped in a towel and discarded along his escape route. Forensic teams are now analyzing the bullets engraved with messages left behind at the scene. Investigators are also crediting fast coordination between federal agents and local officers, and a father who turned in his son, with bringing the suspect into custody in just 33 hours. Of course, this investigation remains ongoing. Reporting in St. George, Utah, I'm Melissa Bethencourt, Scripps News Group.
The memorial in front of Turning Point's headquarters continuing to grow as more people are leaving flowers, notes, and sometimes even teddy bears for Kirk's children. I spoke to people who were praying in front of this memorial, asking them whether the recent news and updates from the FBI have brought them any closure. They say it has somewhat because they believe in the justice system, but still, a man they listen to almost every day is gone.
Like, there will never be another Charlie Kirk. I mean, he
wasn't scared to do what?
Yeah, he cannot be replaced. Like, he had everything. You see Charlie Kirk, and he is not. You can't replace him. He is that guy that you know that he was going places. You know, in the future, you potentially saw the next president.
People I spoke to were also shocked that it was the father of the suspect that ended up turning his own son in. They say that they are praying for that father, knowing that this individual made an extremely hard choice. Reporting in Phoenix, Adam Mintzer for Scripps News Group.
His legacy is just the start of everything right now.
This is Miyu Oda des Hotels. She volunteers as an ambassador for Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's nonprofit organization for conservative students.
He's a very nice guy.
Miyu met Kirk just last year.
Not at all. Did she get tougher?
I remember it like it was yesterday. It was March 20th, 2024 at 7:20 p.m.
That's when Kirk visited San Diego State on one of his popular tours. Kirk was known for fostering engaging political debates, giving students on campuses across the country the chance to prove him wrong.
Wherever you stand with Charlie, he was okay with it. And he was accepting of it. And he may have been controversial in his response to you, but regardless, he didn't want to control you.
Miyu tells me she learned the proper ways to handle civil discourse from Turning Point and Kirk.
Starting off with thank you for your opinion.
Her respect for Kirk goes beyond politics.
I truly valued his faith. Just to make a global movement is also just admirable.
Of the greatest American comeback.
That global movement resonating, mostly with young adults.
I truly believe that he is the reason why President Trump won his election and had such huge margins with engagement with young adults. Charlie also took the opportunity to engage and pour his heart into the younger generation. And I don't think we've ever really seen that done before.
That's why she believes Charlie Kirk's legacy is just beginning.
Overcoming all these odds is one of the greatest stories ever told.
Danny Miskell, Scripps News Group.
Rewind to May 4th, 1970.
Guardsmen began moving across.
This was the scene at Kent State University when the Ohio National Guard fired on anti-Vietnam War protesters, killing 4 students and injuring 9 others.
Nobody deserves that.
Fast forward to April 2024. The university found itself divided again, this time on whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse should be allowed to speak on campus after he shot 3 people during a protest in 2020, killing 2 and injuring 1. Rittenhouse was found not guilty.
Hosting somebody such as Kyle is really a spit in the face to our integral history.
Wish that more people would come out and support people that are brave like Kyle did.
And today, while students remain split over Charlie Kirk's political ideology,
he was someone to look up to.
He said it was worth a few gun deaths a year. He was pro-gun, and he just became that statistic.
I agreed with some of his stuff. I didn't agree with some of his stuff.
They are united in sympathy.
You know, regardless of how you feel about him, seeing that man be slaughtered for what is effectively just free discussion is horrible.
An acknowledgement that violence is not the answer.
I really just felt like it was another
pointer of why we got to control gun violence. He was just trying to influence people's lives, and his life was taken for that.
The sentiment echoed across campus. Free speech should always be protected.
Free speech is paramount, frankly, especially on college campuses.
For something like that to happen, Utah, that's their, Kent State 1970s moment. And all it does is scare away, free speech.
If Kent can come together here, maybe the nation can too.
I'm hoping this unites the country and doesn't further divide it, because right now we don't need any more violence.
Nadina Busada, Scripps News Group.
OpenAI has reached a tentative deal to revise its partnership with Microsoft. The ChatGPT maker will give an equity stake worth at least $100 billion to the nonprofit that manages the organization. The changes allow OpenAI to move forward with restructuring from a nonprofit to a public benefit corporation. The deal with Microsoft is non-binding as the companies work to finalize contract terms. DC Comics has canceled a just-released comic book series after the author made inflammatory comments in the wake of the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The author of The Red Hood, Gretchen Felker Martin, allegedly wrote on social media after the news of Kirk's death, quote, "Hope the bullet's okay," end quote. DC Comics says comments that promote hostility are inconsistent with the company's standards. The series hit comic book stores Wednesday and future issues were set to be released through June. A major subprime auto lender is going out of business. Tricolor filed for bankruptcy Wednesday and plans to liquidate rather than stay in business. The Texas-based company specialized in offering financing to car buyers without social security numbers or credit histories. Tricolor has not been available for comment.
I'm Mary Jo Ola in Milwaukee. It has been 1 month since historic flooding upended communities.
I've worked my whole life for this house, and to just have it just gone, and I can't even live in it, and the hopes of living in the next couple months aren't there either.
Christy Andrade is a single mom on disability. We first met in August when historic flooding destroyed a basement wall in her Milwaukee home. 1 month later, she's still staying at her son's home and struggling to find a reputable business to repair the basement at a price she can afford.
Frustrated, disappointed. It's just, I feel like I'm getting nowhere.
Like many, Christy started a GoFundMe account to help with recovery. She is grateful for the nearly $500 people have donated so far. But there's a caveat to going this route. The Federal Emergency Management Agency website states FEMA cannot duplicate benefits you receive from a different source. So if you get money from a GoFundMe page for a disaster-related expense like repairs or emergency needs, you may not be able to receive FEMA aid for the same cost. Do you have any concern about that disqualifying you from any FEMA aid at all?
I don't care how I get it, I just need a wall. I need a wall, and then I need a new furnace, a new water heater, my central air, the sub pump.
FEMA has different types of assistance that could help, so they say you should still apply for it. President Donald Trump has yet to make a decision on federal relief. Meanwhile, a tarp covers the back of Christy's home to keep out any rain, and her basement is in pieces.
I'm a fighter, but my heart's broken and empty.
I reached out to FEMA for an interview and more details on how flood victims should navigate expenses. We are waiting to hear back. GoFundMe's website states they work closely with FEMA and that in 15 years of operating, they have never heard from a customer who said they lost out on FEMA support due to their fundraiser. Reporting in Milwaukee, I'm Mary Jo Ola.
I don't know. We just didn't think it'd get this much traction because we were just there for doing what had to be done.
Three best friends, Cameron Inselberger, Carter Jacobson, and Gabriel Hernandez, are all seniors at Copper Hills High School. And on Tuesday morning, they were pulled out of class with no idea why.
until they saw their principal, superintendent, mayor, parents, and first responders clapping, thanking them for their courage.
Grateful and a little surprised.
Because in August, the trio leapt into action when they saw a house go up in flames.
Like, we got down there, no one knew who was in the house, and we went up to make sure no one was in there, and we saw a couple dogs.
They kicked the door down, all caught on the family's Ring camera, grabbing the 2 dogs.
And we got the little one out safely. We did get the big one out safely too. He just ran off and he ran up the street. Thankfully, somebody found him.
Zara Gonzalez and her family have lived in the house for nearly 2 years and are grateful to the boys' quick thinking.
We know that what they did took so much courage, and we know that they are very special. They are great in our community.
And on top of their heroics, the teens started a GoFundMe for the Gonzalez family and are happy they could help.
And I'm just very thankful that they got the help that they needed.
The topic of suicide can be a difficult one to talk about, and that certainly rings true in faith-based communities. Greg Horn was 32 when a flood changed his life.
I went from ready to be a millionaire in my mid-30s to being $2 million in debt overnight. Lost my business, my home, and unexpectedly my marriage too.
Greg had thoughts about ending his life, but his faith in God and Christian community made a profound impact.
It's a game changer when you let just one person know. And I had people do that for me, and that's why I'm here today.
Not everyone has experienced that same level of support.
I was a new Catholic many years ago when my husband Connor died by suicide. And so I really experienced the church not really being there for me, but me being a part of a church service every week that was incredibly healing. And I thought, boy, wouldn't it be great if the church was there to support me in my journey of traumatic grief.
Both Melinda and Greg are working to change the ways faith-based communities approach the topic.
Stigma has really hindered suicide being something that we've talked about.
We sometimes make that look like it's a sign of weakness. You should have more faith.
This Saturday, the Centro de San Juan Diego is hosting a Mass for Suicide Healing and Remembrance. It's a time to promote healing for those who have lost loved ones and an opportunity to open up and have these tough conversations.
The greatest lie I think the enemy plants in people's minds is that you can't tell anybody. You need to keep it a secret. And once you reveal, I'm a firm believer that with the revealing, it starts the healing.
What I'm seeing now by raising this and having these sorts of services within a church, people are feeling supported. They're feeling heard. They're not feeling judged.
The Mass starts Saturday at 3 p.m. and it's open to everyone. Caleb Barnes, Scripps News Group.
I'm Ellen Ice outside of the College of Education here on UK's campus. They recently received a grant to be able to provide services to veterans-based organizations.
I think the picture that we're looking at has to change.
Dr. David Pascal-Haig says that picture is actually more of a statistic that is startling.
Veterans are oftentimes found to be twice as likely to die by suicide than their civilian counterparts.
Dr. Pascal-Haig is the head of the Community Mental Health Clinic at UK. He's spearheading an effort to get more veterans with mental health clinicians. And for him, it's personal. His brother Daniel served in the Marines from 2003 to 2007, deploying to the Middle East twice.
We are blessed and lucky to have him home. But since he's been home, he's continued to lose his fellow veterans to suicide and other mental health concerns.
That requires a specialized lens from their providers.
They do face unique needs, right? Reacclimating to civilian life, reacclimating to trying to, be in a 40-hour a week job.
He hopes by the College of Education offering in-person and online counseling and workshops for free, more veterans may come through their doors.
We can't expect veterans to, one day wake up and think, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to finally call that therapist. These are folks who have been trained in independence and finished the mission, and that has served our country, and we have to be able to reach out to them.
It's up to us to create that opportunity.
Anyone in our community can be trained to intervene and save a life.
Ellen Ice, Scripps News Group.